Pinnacle Studio 24 Ultimate brings the ability to change a mask over time, so you can separate moving objects in your footage, superimpose text behind parts of a moving clip, or place a subject in a completely new context entirely. If you've got some experience with masking in Pinnacle Studio, then it's easy to get started with dynamic masking. But if the mask track is completely new to you, click the link in the description for the masking tutorial that was released with Pinnacle Studio 23 to get up to speed. If you're already experienced, then the main thing you need to know for dynamic masking is you can now keyframe mask shapes. Let's take a look. In this clip, I've got to zoom out of this hole in a rock with a really blue sky in the background. I want this clip to look like it was filmed on Mars, so I want to replace the sky with some stars, which I've got on this clip underneath. So I'll create a mask on this clip. Create a mask shape. And now, because the colour I want to remove is pretty uniform, I'll use the Magic Wand tool. You might notice that the Magic Wand has a new drop-down mode selection. These will help you refine which pixels are being selected when you use the tool. Like if I select brightness and then make a selection, the Magic Wand will select all the pixels with the same brightness as the pixel I clicked. And I can adjust tolerance to allow pixels further away from the brightness value I click to be included in the mask. And at the moment, I'm selecting all pixels with that brightness across the whole clip, but if I select contiguous, I'll only be selecting equal brightness pixels that are adjacent to my selection. But clearly brightness isn't going to work for me here. I want to select pixels by colour to remove all of this blue sky. So I'll try the hue setting, with a tolerance of about 25. This is great, it selects all the sky within the hole in the rock, but I want all the sky in the clip, so I'll uncheck contiguous. And I'll bump the tolerance down to 15, so that I'm not accidentally selecting the rock at the side of the hole. You might need to experiment a little with different modes for the Magic Wand, and you might need to adapt within a clip as you're dynamically masking. I'm going to go to a tolerance of 10 to try and get a better fit. And that looks pretty good, so I'll press done. Which brings us to how to change this mask. I just need to enable keyframes for the shape that I've made. Then I'll skip to the next frame with the skip frame button or press X on your keyboard. And we can see the camera has started to pull out, and now the mask is spilling onto the edge of the rock in the hole and pulling away from the outer edge here. So I need to update the mask, which I can do with either modify or replace. Modify is good if you want to add to the mask, but in this case I want to remove parts of the mask as well. I could use the eraser tool like so, but it's easier in this case to just click Replace Mask and select again with the Magic Wand. Then click Done to save the mask for this frame. You'll notice there's now a second keyframe at this time under the playhead. So now I just have to repeat this for as long as I want the mask to last for. Skip ahead a frame, click Replace, redraw the mask with the Magic Wand, and click Done. This can take a while, especially if the mask is long, but once it's done, and I'll skip forward here, you should have a usable mask. I can now remove the sky by going to Function, setting the mask opacity to 0, and the stars clip I have on track 4 now shows through where the sky was. I can add colour correction to the matte, which is everything that is not inside the mask, to make the rock look like it's on Mars. And then I'm done. I have an animated text layer between the mask layer and the stars layer, which emerges from behind the horizon as the camera pans out. Another selection tool that has been improved and will help you with dynamic masking is the brush tool, which has a new smart edge feature, along with tolerance, which can help you get super tight masks from footage that is less uniform in colour or brightness. I used the brush tool on this clip to mask the woman in the dress, colour correcting the subject and making the rest of the shot black and white. Let's remove the shape and go through using the brush tool to show you how to create a couple of frames of this mask. Select the brush tool with Smart Edge, and I draw across the pixels that I want. And you can see the brush has detected the edge pretty well, but some parts aren't quite accurate, especially around her hair and the base of her dress. So I can use the eraser tool to cut into the mask to get it as accurate as possible. Or I can use the modify option to add pixels that are outside the mask, whilst retaining what is already selected. I'll turn Smart Edge off this time, so I can judge the edge myself. We can see that modify is quicker and more accurate in this case than redrawing the whole mask for that frame. Then I'll click Done and turn on keyframing for the shape. Advance a frame, and then replace. Notice how when I clicked Modify, the red of the existing mask remained to show me what I was going to be adding to, but when I click Replace, the red of the mask disappears so I can see that I'm starting again. And then I can continue to refine the mask again with the eraser, or with Modify if I need to. You can of course use more than one mask track in a project, which means I can cut the subject out of this clip, almost as if she was filmed on a green screen, and embed her into another scene, for example this dramatic beach scene. Looking at the clip, I can't see her feet entirely, so I could just mask her so that she's in the water. But I'd like to position her behind these rocks, so the first thing I'll do is mask the rocks. I want my subject to be behind the rocks, but in front of the rest of the scene, so I need to duplicate the clip. Select the clip, Ctrl and C to copy, paste it in this unused bit of timeline. Drag it to track 1, and create a mask. Now, the camera in this scene shot is static, so I can just create a static mask that doesn't need any keyframes, and a good tool in this case would be the freehand tool. Now the rocks have cut out, I'll set the opacity of the matte to 0. Then I can hide this top layer for now. For the layer with my subject, I'm going to want to resize and reposition her once I've masked the background out. So I'm going to create a mask track, but then to ensure that the mask moves and scales proportionally with the subject, I'm going to send them both to a nested project by selecting them both, right-click, and then Save Group as Project. Now open the nested project. And in here, I'm going to use the brush tool again. I'll make sure Smart Edge is selected. Mask the subject. Then enable keyframing on the mask shape. Skip ahead a frame, replace, and redraw. Again, if I need to fine-tune any frame as I'm going along, I can use the eraser to delete, or the Modify button and the brush tool to add to the mask selection. Once I've got the mask keyframed up to where I want it to be, I'll make the matte opacity 0, add a touch of feather, and then jump back to the main project. Now it's just a matter of sizing and positioning the sub-project where I want it to be behind the rocks. And a bit of colour correction to help sell the effect. As the sun is behind her, she should be in shadow, so let's adjust the brightness and contrast. So hopefully this gives you some ideas as to the power and potential of dynamic masking within Pinnacle Studio. So, happy editing!